gonna take you back on a ride in McCall on this video. This is Trail 108, and it's one of the more technical trails that I've done this year. And the colors were just amazing because it was later in the year, and all the fall colors started to come out. So it made for a really pretty ride, and it made for a really technical ride. There was just a bunch of rock. There was rock all over the place. This would be a really interesting place to take a trials bike, or even to go in and practice trials style riding. But you would definitely have to be prepared, because you definitely don't want to wreck back in here. I put a few aerial shots in here too, just to kind of give you guys a different perspective. I know that the helmet cam doesn't always show a lot of depth, so it's hard to tell how steep things are, which all of this terrain is very steep and very loose. I was running a Moto Z hybrid gummy rear tire here, which is a very good tire, so it really helped me to hook up onto this rock. But as I said, it's really a relentless type terrain. I mean, this is just straight up, but with that rear tire on there, I could really hook up and get up that steeper terrain. But with it being so relentless, I start to show my fatigue quite a bit throughout this video. You can kind of tell when I get a little bit worn out, and I start to make more mistakes as I go along. I figure I'd bring the volume down and spare you guys of a little bit of heavy breathing as well. There's a lot of that. There's definitely no shortage of heavy breathing in this video. And that's the main reason I've left this section out of a lot of my other videos. I think I've shown you certain parts of this particular ride, but all of the sections that I show are usually either they have like a music over the top, or I don't really show too many sections where I'm breathing heavily into the mic, just to kind of spare the audience. But it was definitely a nice day out. It was later in the year, and it was starting to cool down a little bit. The days were getting a little bit shorter. The temperatures weren't that bad either. I always bring a 32 ounce deal of Powerade with me, so that's usually all I need. And then I carry a water filter as well. So if I do get really dehydrated back in these places, I can almost always find some kind of water source. And on this particular ride, there was a couple of lakes nearby, so I could always just go over there. But this picture here kind of gives you a good perspective of the different terrain and the different colors that are coming out. Back in here, it's very pretty how all the rock just kind of gives you a great contrast of the rest of the terrain. It's really hard to see any trail in this terrain. Luckily, somebody marked the trail with some paint here.
Well, if this doesn't chew up my rear tire, I don't know what will. My Moto Z hybrid gummy back there, trying to grip onto this rock.
If you just keep on having to really put forth a lot of effort to get up this terrain, it can really be taxing. Not only on me, but on the bike as well. I mean, I'm just using the clutch constantly. That hydraulic Magura clutch is great. I mean, it never heats up. It never really gets to the point where the feel changes. But what does happen is the bike starts to overheat. So if I start going low speeds and clutching it and revving it up, the bike really starts to overheat and steam. So I try not to do that too much. Some of it's just unavoidable. type of stuff that I bring on rides is usually just basic survival stuff, and I personally carry a lot of camera equipment because I do these vlogs, and it's really important that I have all the camera equipment that I need. And a lot of that is, in my cell phone. That's a pretty powerful tool to use for vlogging, for Instagram and all that stuff. Sections like this one are really an awesome thing to ride up. It's really interesting terrain. A little bit steep, but really interesting. Almost feel privileged to ride up this stuff, even though it is one of our rides, but sometimes I have to get a little bit creative to get over some of these rocks. The rocks are at a weird angle sometimes, and there's a combination of rock and just deadfall, so I have to kind of work my way around sometimes. Clear day, it's beautiful. Once you get up onto these ridges, you can really see around and everything. Up on this ridge here, a lot of people hike this trail, so all of these rock stacks around me, you can see where people make those little rock stacks. That's likely from different hikers that have come through. There's a couple trails I did this year that are primarily trails that are hiked on foot. You saw that with the South Fork of the Salmon Trail. Somebody had mentioned that looked like a well-used trail. And that's because there's a lot of people who take that trail on foot and also with horses and stuff like that, so it does receive enough traffic to keep it pretty worn out or worn down. But this trail really doesn't have that. It's not as worn as you would think it would be, but there's enough foot traffic and stuff like that it really does at least make it visible, so that's nice. With these trails, oftentimes you can't really see them because, all these weeds and the bushes and flowers and everything in my current environment, it's all going to overgrow this trail the minute I'm off of it. So if you go a year without hitting these trails, you can't even tell that a trail was ever there. It's something that always changes. That's what I really love about Enduro as well. The terrain is just always changing. It goes from, all rocky terrain to sand, to loamy, to hard pack, like pea gravel stuff, and then, your environment is always changing too. The smell, the heat, the higher, you gain so much elevation that the heat changes and the smells change. And sometimes I have to remind myself to kind of slow down and look around, because some of it is just so beautiful that it would be a shame to miss. So times when I have a moment, like right here, I can kind of take in my surroundings a little bit and slow it down. But I think that is important, and I get so caught up in the adrenaline and the fun aspect of the ride, I just kind of forget to look around. But you can see right here, I'm kind of taking a breather. Anyways, guys, that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next ride. See ya.
technical terrain.